Platform ibambisene ne-Go Digital SA Foundation. Siyathemba nizolijabulela lolu hlelo.
Sanibonani grade 12 igama uMr Mthembu ithutha geography. So namhlanje into esizobe siyenza sizobe sibheka economic geography as a chapter. It's not even a topic, it's a chapter. So economic geography bheka nje umnotho wala eSouth Africa ukuthi uhamba kanjani. So uzokhumbula nje last time ngalesi sikhathi siyenza introduce economic geography sasho sathi inama structures akhona ukubheka nje ukuthi umnotho wala eSouth Africa wakhiwe yini nje eyenza ukuthi umnotho wala eSouth Africa usimame ngendlela osimeme ngayo njengamanje. And then also sibheke nezinye izinto ezenza ukuthi sibe developed or sibe underdeveloped. So now grade 12 today into engithe ngifuna nje ukuthi ngiyenze nani was ukubheka nje ukuthi economy of South Africa iziphi kahle izinto eziwusupportayo lo mnotho wethu in order for i-GDP yethu ibe phezulu. So uzokhumbula at last time ngazi mina i-economy yethu iyakhiwe ama-primary factors, ama-primary activities, ama-secondary activities, ama-tertiary nama-quaternary. Ngase ngithi mina kuma-primary yes, it involves extraction of ama-resources from underground. Ngawabala ama-activities that are performed kwi-primary by South Africa. Ngase ngithi sizo-highlighta lawa abalulekile which is farming and mining. So our focus nje namhlanje will be on mining and farming. So kule section will be yes focusing on the primary, secondary and tertiary activities, and then we'll be looking here manje ukuthi how are these activities important to the South African economy as well as develop nje we country as a whole. And then also such a primary activity it stimulates secondary activities which in turn stimulates some job creations such as the example njengamanje. So if mhlambe kwakhiwa mhlambe imoto for instance yabo, so imoto ezakhiwa ngensimbi and then insimbi ayithatha nanoma yikephi, but insimbi iqala nje lapha from underground and then imbiwe and then bese ya convertwa ke manje kwi secondary activity noma kwi sector. So ya convert mase convertiwe isingaba useful now ukuthi singakwazi ukwakha izinto ezinjenge imoto and all that. So we're looking at also a primary activity which involves extracting of raw materials from the earth, for example farming, fishing ne forestry as well as mining. So sizofocusa kakhulu ke la kwi farming and mining as I've said ekuqaleni, as these two activities ke nkosi yami they contribute quite a lot yabo kwi South African economy. And then again ke uzokhumbula grade 12 ukuthi uma sikhuluma nge-mining nge-farming in South Africa ke i-farming yenziwa into two ways. So there is a small scale farming that is taking place in South Africa and as well as a large scale farming in South Africa. So ngizo explain nje ukuthi what do we mean about all of that. So qala nje ngama small scale farmers ke ukuthi ayini ama small scale farmers ke. Ama small scale farmers lama farmers asuke engena ama resources amaningi, asuke limited ngale ndlela. Ngizokwenza iexample nje. Ogandaganda basuke bengekho aba enough isuke this type of farming isuke labor intensive, so which means ikusuke kunabasebenzi abaningi abasebenza le farm le so that it can actually make a profit, not just the profits but produce nje ukuthi be high. As well as most of these farmers here mabenza farming bayenza for the fun, for the love of it. So that's why we have different types of farmers around South Africa. Sinama farmers abizwa ngokuthiwa ama hobby farmers, which umuntu nje vele uma lento enesikhathi nje sakhe eyibhorekele ekhaya evele ezenzele ifam yakhe. And then also we have what you call ama-retirement farmers. Umuntu mayese retire nje uzovele echoose ukuthi you know what, let me go and do farming, as well as khona farming eyenziwa nje just nje ukuthi ibe part of lifestyle, which is called lifestyle farmers or farming. So la lifestyle farming, you are doing it for not even for the fun of it, but ngendlela ophila ngayo, yabo leyo. So in South Africa, lifestyle it's changing basically in terms of South Africa. And then also, yes, we have those who actually grow vegetables or even fruits while also raising livestock farming at the same time. So we have a beautiful name for those kind of farmers. Sizwabona nje at a later stage as ngiqhubeka nayo farming yami in South Africa. And then khona farming ebizwa ngokuthiwa large scale farming or farmers. So la the farm is done on a large scale. So which means usually farmer ejwayele own a large piece of land and then besenza farming ikhona. So this type of farming is sibiza ngokuthi commercial farming, because you will remember ke grade 12 ukuthi what is the aim of a commercial farming. The aim of the commercial farming of commercial farmers is just to make a profit. So here these guys are in business, baku business benza profit. So at the end of the day kumele bedayisile wonke lama products lawa ama produce abo abaproduceayo lapha in the farm. And then also it's usually owned by a single family or one person. So as I've said eqaleni ukuthi ibusiness leli ke, so lana ungathola ukuthi mhlambe khona indlu eyodwa endaweni, and then around indlu khona lots and lots of vegetation. So usually if you look at that picture nje esuke ikanjalo isuke isho phela ukuthi farming la is done on a large scale, and then there's only one person or even a single family that is owning about that piece of land. And then also the person is doing what you call the commercial farming, which the aim is to make a profit. And then now mase mbuyele nje kancane nje lapha kwi small scale farmers or farming. La farming, I've said, is done on a very small scale, as well as farmers they have like limited resources. So most of the time this type of farming is called subsistence farming. So the aim of these farmers or this type of farming is just to feed yourself and your family. So there's no need to actually sell or whatever. But now the aim is just to make enough so that you feed wena as well as your family. Okay, again. Farming in South Africa, types of farming. We have a crop farming, we have stock farming, we also have mixed farming. So a crop farming ila esuke senze farming ngeyitshalo, mhlawumbe ama grapes, mhlawumbe mango, mhlawumbe even ummbila, mhlawumbe spinach and all that, pineapple, wonke lawo types of farmer crops. And then also in South Africa we have what you call stock farming. Lana ye sineyinkomo sifuyile inkomo, sifuye nezimbuzi, sifuye mhlawumbe nezikabhu, yabo zonke lezo zinto eziphilayo. So livestock here leso. Ama farmers here they keep livestock yabo in that area for business anyway, because they are selling all of these stock. So now and then we have what you call mixed farming. Mixed farming ila esithola khona ifama ke manje ifama yes on a large scale, but esuke imixile ke yona crop farming together with livestock farming. So kusuke kwenziwa kwethu ke abanye abantu bayebekhethe nje ukuzenzela nje crop farming nje just nje yona kuphela benze lento ethiwa monoculture, whereby we plant only one type of seed. If it's maize, umbila yabo. Sugar cane. And then also if you farmer decide futhi nalana ukuthi you know what mina ngizogcina inkomo kuphela ngizoba a stock farmer yeinkomo kuphela. I mean izokwenza kanjalo izogcina inkomo kuphela, but there are other farmers abavele be decide ukuthi you know what mina I rather have both, ngibe ne crop farming as well as stock farming. Right now let us look at ama factors favoring farming in South Africa ke. Grade 12 la kuzomela sazi ukuthi this topic yama factors favoring farming in South Africa iphuma in a form of a paragraph. So kwi exam you may come across with such a question, bekubuza ukuthi what factors favoring farming in South Africa, and then uzosho ke manje ukuthi okokuqala nje ama farming products are in high demand. So there's a high demand for farming products, as well as la South Africa factor as favor nje ukuthi sibe sense farming. We have like fertile flood plains. Ama flood plains ke uzokhumbula grade 12 futhi indawo esuke iphansi, indawo esuke inamanzi most of the time, indawo esuke ihlezi imanzi nje esuke fertile. So whatever crops that you are going to plant lapha kuleyo ndawo azokhula kahle, it's because it consists of lots and lots of water, and then especially it's all the time it's next to the river, so there's like plenty of water for irrigation of those crops. And then also more khumbula kahle grade 12 la South Africa we are so lucky to have both ocean currents. Indian Ocean current, which is warm, and then also we have the Atlantic Ocean current, so which is cold. So the eastern half of the country, it receives more than 500 millimeters of rainfall. So leyo nto leyo is favor kakhulu ke thina la ku eastern parts of the country in terms of doing farming, because kuhleze kunemvula ke, so kuhleze receive imvula ezingango 500 millimeters and above, depending ukuthi i-condensation ibe ngakanani kwi-atmosphere and the amount of evaporation yenzale kangakanani in the ocean. As well as high temperatures in South Africa, they help us to grow these crops. So la South Africa, especially even nakhona futhi nawe interior, yes we do have high temperatures, but mostly nje la along the coast, especially along the warm Indian Ocean, temperatures akhona hleze high, so they allow those crops which are not frost resistant ukuthi ekhule kahle. So sikhuluma ama crops anjenga umango, sikhuluma even nangomoba, sikhuluma nangombila. So if you look exactly those plants, if engase etshalwe eindaweni ezibandayo, they cannot stand or withstand those conditions, so azogcina eselento lena esefile. So la South Africa we are so lucky enough to have this climate with high temperatures that helps to grow these crops. And then also we also have a big favor ke lana ke which is a favoring factor. We have a pool of labor here. We have an availability of labor, especially those unskilled labor. So the unskilled labor force, it allows us to use these unskilled labors kuma farming whenever we are doing a farming. So we are so lucky in South Africa, but we are unlucky in other ngezinye indlela ngoba phela we need skill. Okay, now let us look at factors hindering farming in South Africa. Igama elithi hindering is more like a negative factor. We're looking at what exactly inevimba eSouth Africa ukuthi yenze farming la eSouth Africa. Ma iziphi izinto ezimbi ezenza ukuthi eSouth Africa ingabi nefarming eningi. So now we're looking at first things first, the unreliable rainfall, especially lapha kuma plateaus. So uzokhumbula grade 12 ukuthi ama plateau akho asuke elapha yana nje, it's actually the interior of the country. mawusuka lapha kuma-coastal regions usungena kwi-country ke, so that is where we find ama-plateau ethu. So imvula esuke inetha lapho isuke unreliable. So uzokhumbula ke grade 12 ngalesi sikhathi enza i-geomorphology ukuthi especially in winter we usually have less rainfalls here in the plateau because iKalahari high pressure isuke iphansi, so it actually prevents leyo Kalahari, it prevents warm moist air from rising into the plateau and form ama-clouds. So sizokhumbula nje kahle kahle ukuthi the only season that i-plateau or interior places heavy rainfall is during summer, whereby iKalahari high pressure has been lifted up and allows warm moist air from the warm ocean current to penetrate into the country manje and do what you call a cloud formation through a process of condensation. And then also in South Africa, we have soil erosion due to the incorrect farming methods. So ungabi nalo nje ulwazi lethu lokwenza i-farming in South Africa kungashaya lokho uma sizotshala izitshalo zethu zehle on a horizontal method, kuzothi mase kufika imvula lezo ihlahla zonke izovele noma ama crops zonke azovele ehambe namanzi yabo uma kufika imvula eningi. Rather, let's do what you call i-contour plowing. So mawenza i-contour plowing usuke utshala from west to east in terms of direction. So usuke ulingisela nje yes usulingisela lento ama-contour lines ngendlela ame ngayo i-pattern yawo, so that if qhamuka imvula iyehla down the hill or the mountain, izitshalo ngeke zikwazi ukulenta ukuhamba namanzi, amanzi will actually be blocked along these lines lawo suwenzile as you were doing what you call contour plowing. Alright, now in South Africa ke uzokhumbula grade 12 ukuthi sinama natural hazards amaningi ke esifacane nawo, such as droughts, such as floods, such as hailstorms. So wonke lama hazards lawa, they cause a negative factor towards farming yethu ukuthi yenziwe kahle. So especially in those areas that we call plateau, these are drought prone places, so which means drought iyenzakala most of the time khona because it's away from the ocean, it's away from the moist places yabo, as well as ama-floods. If they do come into the area, they may wash away everything that you have planted. Iy'tshalo ngagcina nje seyifile. Even a hailstorm damage as many plants as it can. And then mase ukuthi enye effect will be HIV and AIDS. Uzokhumbula ukuthi South Africa is a country with the high rates of HIV and AIDS as well. So if you look at this point here, we beg in terms of production. Obviously, the production of the farming industry will decrease. The reason being, abantu you may find which they are HIV positive, some they have AIDS. So all these people, what if they report sick? Yabo bethi nje athina sizi siyagula, siyolanda medication. What happens to the production? Isizoma ke manje production ingakwazi ukuqhubeka. So abantu mabegula nje bazohlala emakhaya or bevakashele izibhedlela, and then bese kusafarisha i-production. So which means i-employer kumele at all times ihlezi nje iqasha abasebenzi abasha so that bezo replace laba abagulayo. So if eyenza kanjalo i-employer, which means izobikhokha kakhulu, i-employer will be paying more for the replacement or substitute of these workers abagulayo. Another factor will be price fluctuation. A price fluctuation, we're looking at the prices going up and down depending ukuthi irandi liqine kanjani. If irandi li right liqinile, then ke ama prices ethu azoba kahle ke, but uma irandi liphansi ke ama prices azoba phezulu ke. So last bheka ama prices of production ukuthi izinto uma siyithenga at what price for production, as well as if ama prizes lento lena noma irandi lilento likahle lokho kusilento lekusinikeza iadvantage yokuthi you know what, let's just do more of farming because we're taking advantage of the good situation of the rand, as well as another factor that is hindering farming in South Africa. We're looking at the pest. Pest ke uma ifike into the area that's where kufarmwe khona, it tends to destroy lots and lots of crops ngoba nje khona lento esibiza ngama locust amaqhwagi. If ifikile i-locust in the area afika mhlawumbe kunezinto njenge spinach kanje yabo, thola izinto njengekabishi kanje, izovele nje izidle zonke lezo zinto lezo. So this will be a loss to ilento ifama ke. Okay, say food security ke, good people. Food security ke it lies and depends, grade 12, kuma factors favoring farming in South Africa, as well as factors hindering farming in South Africa. So that grade 12 okay, food security is very important for you to know ngoba this is examinable, and then also you need to know how to define food security. Uyikhazi nje ukuthi iyini food security ke, nayo futhi i-results yani ke. Okay, la food security ke grade 12 mase uyidefine kwi-exam yakho, this is what you are going to say. This is when all the people have access to nutritious food to meet their needs for a healthy and productive life. So i-examiner izofuna ukubona nje leli gama elithi nutritious, izofuna ukubona ukuthi people have access to nutritious, because uma uthe wena ke it's when all people have access to food yabo. So kuzoba any type of food, but i-examiner nje will want to see leli gama elithi nutritious or healthy food. So food security is when all people have access to nutritious food in order to meet their needs for a healthy and productive life. So this is what food security means. Now let us look at some factors why people have enough food. So siyabheka ukuthi yini indaba abantu bene access to nutritious food in South Africa. Number one nje, la South Africa sinama commercial farms. So commercial farms are able to produce enough food due to the favorable climatic factors. So sishiloke laphayana ukuthi especially thina ke along the coastal region of eastern parts, we are so lucky to have factors that favors hugely ilento farming. So sine climate right, it's always warm. We always receive rainfall in the eastern parts of the country. Ngikhuluma ngeindawo ezinjengo Richards Bay, Durban, ngikhuluma ngeindawo enjengo Port Elizabeth, ngikhuluma indawo enjengo East London. So zonke lezo indawo lezo, if wenza farming kuyona i-climate yakhona i-right, and then you are going to make lots and lots of profits because of these favorable climatic factors. And then bese kuba ke another factor ke why people have enough food security in South Africa. Here people can afford to buy food. People are working, remember. Most people are working in South Africa, so they can afford to buy healthy food. Now, in other words, farmers have a market now. So for these farmers to sell their products here, their produce to people, they need to have a market. So you cannot have a market in the desert. Rather have a market next to the people. So since people can now afford to buy food, farmers will actually have markets in place available ukuthi nje abantu bekwazi ukuthi bethenge. And then also having food in the country will actually minimize imports of food. So which means imports of food in the country will be reduced. Why is that the case? It's because we are able to grow our own food here in South Africa. Yabo. Siyakwazi nje ukukhulisa ukudla kwethu la eSouth Africa, so right kabi akumele nje silento si import anything. Rather into esingayenza ke ngoba vele we are doing commercial farming, we can export our produce to overseas markets so that we can earn a foreign exchange. Yabo. So we are at an advantage like grade 12 ukuthi uthina lama factors lawa sifavorishayo, we are able to make money out of the farming years. Okay, lastly, ipoint lokugcina ke, genetically modified crops are more resistant to diseases, ne? They are more resistant to pests and also viruses, so more crops in this way can be produced in manje. So a genetically modified crop, ilama crops lawa that can actually live longer, yabo. So a modify washintile so that they can cope with a situation. So you can even export these crops to overseas markets, yabo. Ngizokwenza le example, let's say mhlawumbe senza ama orange. If we are growing oranges and then we decide to export those oranges to overseas markets, so if it takes us a month for umkhumbi wethu ukuthi ufike mhlambe overseas mhlambe to New York or something, we know exactly ukuthi in New York ama orange ethu asazofika esakwe good condition because they are genetically modified, yabo. And then also ukhula kwawo nje, since genetically modified azokhula in a fast pace, yabo. Awafani nama organic, ama organic aye khule kanzima ngoba they are not supported. All right, let's just look at food insecurity ke manje. Food insecurity is the opposite of food security. La we are looking at when not all people in a country have enough food to meet their needs for a healthy and productive life. So last bege abantu abangakwazi ukaccessa this healthy food, this nutritious food. So it's an inability for these people to access nutritious food or healthy food. So that's what it means. Let us look at some factors that favors or factors why people do not have enough food or why there is food insecurity in South Africa. Well, number one, in South Africa there is a lack of fertile land. Whereabouts is the lack of fertile land? We're talking about places in the interior, places in the plateau. Ngizokhuluma nje ngeindawo njengakuBloemfontein kanje. Those areas there, they do not have fertile land kahle kahle or soil. So the only fertile soil that you find la in South Africa is along the coastal places, along the eastern parts of the country. Another factor why we do not have enough food here in South Africa, or why do we have food insecurity, is because of climate change. Climate change is increases natural disasters. You will remember here with climate change ihamba ne-global warming. So it's an ever-changing weather patterns. Uthole mhlambe sekunetha kakhulu or mhlambe sekunesomiso yabo esiningi in the country. So leyo nto le will actually increase natural disasters. So ngizokwenza example nje, for instance, Cape Town over, I think it was in 2020, it experienced droughts ngale ndlela, severe droughts, in such a way that farmers were complaining now ukuthi, for us who are doing crop farming, we are suffering because there is no water available to support these crops. As well as livestock farmers, I complain ukuthi, you know what, asanawo amanzi are enough so that sizokwazi ukuthi siphuzisele inkomo zethu, imbuzi nekapho, so that sizosurvive again. So we're looking at those climatic changes which will increase natural disasters. Some at times natural disasters, because of the high amounts of water vapor, you may find there's high rainfall now that will increase floods, yabo, then end up being washed away. Then lastly, the subsistence farmers. Subsistence farmers in South Africa, most of the time are educated about the ways to improve crop production. So subsistence farming or farmers singishilo ekuqaleni grade 12 ngathi la, the aim of these farmers is just to feed themselves and their families. Right. Now, what measures can you use to prevent food insecurity? So this is an exam type question. Ekumele uyilindele nje kwi-question yakho, mhlambe in a paragraph of approximately 8 lines. Please do come up with points that you can use to prevent food insecurity in the country. So what would be those measures that you can put in place? Number 1, you need to prevent soil erosion by practicing better farming method. That you may practice what you call the contour plowing. So do away with the vertical plowing because all your crops will be washed away. And then number 2, you need to use efficient ways of storing food, especially when more crops are produced in high rainfall season. So if you have produced lots and lots of maize during summer, if winter comes, you must make sure that you have reserves of food being stored somewhere, so that you cannot have a problem when winter season comes. Ngoba sazi kahle ukuthi winter comes with those cold and dry conditions which some plants cannot actually withhold it or withstand it, basically. So we need to actually store food, especially when more crops are grown or produced in a high rainfall season. Now, another point to prevent food security in South Africa, you need to improve ways of storing and using water supplies to reduce water wastage. Rather have things such as dams in place so that you can actually keep this water, especially during droughts. With droughts, we really need amanzi. So it may be easy manje for farmers to actually use this water that was stored during rainy seasons. You can either use it for crops, for irrigation, or for livestock. So these are the points that you need to actually include in your paragraph. There is more that you can include, but mina ngihighlightele nje lawa ke amancane. Remember, I said this thing here may come in a form of a paragraph. Okay, I think we are done with farming here manje in South Africa. Let us go on and look for mining in South Africa. Mining in South Africa is done in 2 ways in South Africa again. We have what you call the open cast mining. So open cast mining ila kusuke be extract khona minerals on the earth surface, such as coal. Coal is extracted on the earth surface. So land bayayivula. So into yokuqala bayenzayo nje grade 12 la, if bezoba ne open cast mining, baqale bevule land, so they clear all the vegetation, the topsoil, in order to make way to ukuthi bethole lela abalifunayo. Once they are done with that, they need to rehabilitate the indawo by planting more trees, just to replace the environment that has been lost while they were doing open cast mining. And then we have another type of mining in South Africa, which is called shaft mining. Yona shaft mining ifaka ukudrilla most of the time. So bayadrilla befaka oshaft ngaphansi so that they can extract whatever they want to extract from underground. I-example nje of shaft mining is gold mine. Ama-gold mine, ama-diamond mines, oma-iron ore, zonke lezo zinto zithathwa ngaphansi komhlabathi or komhlaba. So you may find ukuthi nje i-drilling yabo ihamba as many kilometers as mhlawumbe ihamba ama-kilometers cishe mhlawumbe awu-3 underground just to extract those resources. Uzokhumbula-ke futhi grade 12 ukuthi i-South Africa in the past used to depend kwi-gold or kuma-natural resources for its development. So it's no longer depending on natural resources for its development anymore, because now we're starting to turn the very same raw materials into finished products, so that sizodayisa lama finished products at a higher price. Okay, let us look at some factors favoring mining in South Africa. In South Africa, grade 12, we have plenty of minerals such as gold, such as iron ore, and other types of minerals. But we no longer depend on them as bengitshela nje ekuqaleni. Igolide nje la South Africa, ama-experts ayasho ukuthi sekusele only 5%, sele less than 5% of our reserves lapha underground. So imagine if South Africa was still depending with gold, ukuthi bezosafarisha kanjani in future. But now we're starting to convert all these raw materials that's when you use to extract from underground. We are now converting them into our finished products so that you can earn foreign exchange as we are selling them. Another factor will be we have plenty of local unskilled labor in South Africa. So for them to go underground there, you need these unskilled laborers for us to actually extract whatever we want to extract lapayana from those mines. So we have plenty of local unskilled labor. We don't need to go overseas and get those unskilled. And then also another factor that favors mining in South Africa, many countries invested money in our mines, which assist further development. And then also we have a well-developed infrastructure which will assist mines to do business. So the availability of mines, it's helped the infrastructure of South Africa to develop. So sinemgaqo emkhulu emningi la South Africa. Why? Because sifuna ukuhambisa phela lezi zinto lezi lama minerals yabo to overseas markets, to other markets yabo. So we need to use good infrastructure. We need to have good infrastructure in place so that these minerals can be actually transported to the harbor so that they can actually go to the overseas markets. So kulula ke ukwenza ibhizinisi if there is a well-developed infrastructure in place. Okay, the last factor that favors mining in South Africa, we have the foreign skilled miner which comes to work in South African mines, and also the mines benefit from their knowledge and skills. So ungathola ukuthi mhlawumbe kusuka abantu ba overseas aba skilled enough bezosebenza la eSouth Africa. So thina ke in a process we benefit from these skills because they teach us ukuthi how to drill, how to manufacture, how to do this, how to do that. So these miners, these foreign miners, they come into the country, they conduct some workshops, benza ama inductions so that thina ke sizoba well equipped in terms of the knowledge, in terms of the skill that is needed by us as South Africans. Okay, now factors hindering mining in South Africa. So if we look grade 12 la ama factors that's hindering mining in South Africa, nayo futhi ke le topic ingaphuma as a paragraph topic, as well as nalega desiyenza previously yama factors favoring, nayo ingaphuma in a form of a paragraph question. So let us look at these factors that's hindering mining in South Africa. Sibheke ukuthi ayimaphi. La obviously siyazi ukuthi sinama high temperatures in South Africa, asikho lapha close to the polar regions or anything. Si close to subtropical, si subtropical, si close to a tropical line or equator line, I would say. So if a country is situated close to the equator, especially like my subtropicals, siyazi ukuthi there are high temperatures, yabo leyo nto. So that will lead to those underground mines, yabo, having high temperatures and makes it very difficult for workers to work in that way, or thus decreasing the productivity. So if it's difficult to ngena kulama mines, if eshisa, the temperature yakhona ishisa, obviously production will decrease because it won't be nice anyway for workers to go there underground since in the high temperatures. Another factor that hinders mining in South Africa, we have large distances between the mines and the harbors. So when the example is, Johannesburg has always had igolide. So igolide behlezi transportwa to overseas markets via Durban Harbour. So which means igolide lethu zotransportwa from Johannesburg besebenzisa i-road transport, besebenzisa i-rail transport, so that bezokwazi ukuthi beye lapha eharbour befike befake lezi zinto emkhunjini, so that izokwazi ukuthi zile overseas kuma overseas markets. Another factor hindering mining in South Africa, we're looking at the high training cost. It's very, very difficult to conduct some training, because at times you need to get people from as far as even overseas, because we need to get that skill so that our miners can be well equipped. No one is knowledgeable in terms of mining, but you need a proper training. As well as mine strikes, imine nemayini iba ne strike sayo, so it makes it difficult ukuthi i-production iqhubeke iyenzeke because of the strike. So i-strike nje masithathe usuke emayini ikosteka about R1,000,000 if not above, yabo. So a factor that hinders mining in South Africa, one of it is mine strikes, as well as water shortages and underground flooding of mines are a serious problem. So you will remember lapho ukuthi kune underground water grade 12 ka geomorphology. So if kudrillwa ke lapha ezansi and then you come across with amanzi ke, you may find ungathola nje ukuthi even nalama channel or shafts laba sebezogcwala even amanzi, which will actually cause a very serious problem, and it will become dangerous for the miners to mine. As well as to ensure nje i-safety nje on the mine is very, very expensive. So it's either usekela ama-tunnels lawa so that mine ingadiliki, i-safety nje in generally of the workers, since i-priority is very, very expensive will and we maintainer. So nalokho kumele uthole futhi iskill ke futhi from especially those overseas markets, ukuthi how to actually practice those safety measures lapha emamayini. All right, let's just look at the importance ke manje of mining in South Africa. What does mining do in South Africa? The importance of mining in South Africa, grade 12, ngizoyifaka ndawonye ne-importance of farming in South Africa ke. Number one, mining, what does it do, grade 12? It provides many jobs. That one is given. So if it provides many jobs, what about the people who live in the area? They will be employed. How about the buying power? The buying power will be high. Yabo, so suzoyibhala leyo nto kwi-paragraph yakho ka 8 lines uma usubuziwe ukuthi what is the importance of mining in South Africa. So you may say it's provide many jobs in South Africa, there will be lots of employment, and then the buying power of people will be high, the standard of living will also be high, yabo. The economy will also increase. So we're looking at along those lines. Okay, now another factor, another importance of mining in South Africa. Mines supply raw materials to secondary activities such as factories, such as industries. Yabo. So la ungathola ukuthi supplier igolide as a mineral a resource. Yabo. Supply to a secondary resource so that bezokwazi phela ukwenza ijewelry yabo, izinto enjama necklaces, izinto enjama ring, amacici and all that yabo. So ibalekile ngempela nje ilento mining in South Africa, because we are able to produce all these things that are produced under a secondary activity or sector. And then the importance of mining in South Africa, you find there are new towns now developing, yabo, and also a transport network. You find it develops around the mines. So which means mining is more like a multiplier effect. A multiplier effect, grade 12, ila sola khona phela into eyodwa ilidela kwenye, yabo. For instance njengayo nje ilento imayini has led to a development of new towns, ngoba phela bayayidinga abantu indawo zokuhlala, bayadinga indawo zokuthenga izitolo, bayadinga ama restaurants, bayadinga even amahotela abantu, so nje badinga zonke lezo zinto. Okay, another importance of mining in South Africa, it stipulates other sectors of the economy, such as mhlambe what you call this, ezokuvakasha nje kanje. So ilento ezokuvakasha, economy will be stipulated because of the presence of the mine. So ungathola ukuthi mhlawumbe abantu ama-tourist afuna nje ukuthorisha nje ezobuka nje ukuthi how does the mine operate, yabo, zonke lezo zinto, especially if sinalezi mgodi le esuke ikhona lapha yana, esuke ingalento ingarehabilitaliziwe. Ama-tourist ayefike nje ezovisita lezo indawo lezi just to look nje ukuthi okay, igolide laminwa lana, i-diamond eminwa lana, malahla eminwa lana, yabo. That is why the place is like this now, yabo. As well as it helps harbors like the one in Richards Bay and Saldanha Bay to expand. So as we speak at the moment, Richards Bay is expanding, and then as well as Saldanha Bay is expanding. Kunama IDZs laphayana abawafakayo, ama-industrial development zones, because of the availability of these harbors. These are the availabilities of these harbors are as a result of mining in South Africa. So we are now able to convert manje ama raw materials lawa at the mine le Johannesburg. We are now going to convert these natural resources in the industrial development zones. That will be in Richards Bay, that will be in Saldanha Bay, yabo. So sizwa convert lawo resources into our finished products and use the very same harbors to export them to overseas markets, so that we can now earn a foreign exchange, and as a country economy yethu bese iya increase. And then also lastly, we have the exports of mining products will increase the profits of the mines, obviously. So profits of South Africa will increase because these mining products has been sold to overseas countries. Now let's just look at the impacts of the mining on the environment. It's very important, grade 12, in the form of a paragraph. Please write the impacts of mining on the environment. So sikhuluma nge-environment, sikhuluma izinto njengey'hlahla, ihlabathi, even nomoya, ukuthi kwenzakalani kuyo yonke leyo nto. Into yokuqala nje, especially uma kwenziwa i-open cast mining, baclearisha i-vegetation. So vegetation is removed, and this will lead to soil erosion. So we do not need that as South Africans. Number two, the land is destroyed through mine dumps. So whatever waste asebenayo lapha emamayini, into abayenzayo nje mase beqedile ukwenza whatever bafuna ukwenza, bayidampa nanoma ingephi, yabo. So that will actually lead to what you call land pollution. So land pollution is whereby everything has been dumped, the rubbish has been dumped, noma waste from the mines has been dumped. And then in mining, especially those shaft minings, uma kumbiwa izinto enjengegolide and all that, it will link to ama sinkholes. So isinkhole la eSouth Africa siye sayewitnessa into embi, we don't like it to happen in future. Isinkhole khona icase esadiscusswa even namanje ye-container eyangena ngaphansi komhlaba ingena nabantu abawu 3, I think. I-container nje shothi ngazi noma abantu babedayisa yini, because yes engase gating. So because of isinkhole whereby umhlabathi ungena phansi lapha yana where it used to be mines ngoba sekuvuleka ispace, so leyo sinkhole it's led to leyo container enabantu phakathi ukuthi begcine sebegqibekile. So until today abakatholakali labo bantu, and I think that case it happened in 2016 if I'm not mistaken. So now isikhathi sesambile, right? As well as sengiphetha i-carbon dioxide will be released, which will contribute towards global warming. So that's one we know uma kuproducwa, uma kuminwa, there's always a smoky, as well as if kwenziwa lento ekuthiwa i-fracking. I-fracking is whereby there's a drilling, yabo, befuna oil laphana ngaphansi, befuna i-gas basically. If that gas ilento lena iphuma la on the cracks, kulama cracks lawa enzakalayo uma kwenziwa i-fracking, iyaphuma i-atmosphere, if i-pollute i-atmosphere, if ungcolise ilento umoya laphana kwi-atmosphere. Okay, grade 12, I think that sums up everything about our lesson for today. It's very important, grade 12, ukuthi nje siyazi ama-factors favoring, ama-factors hindering whatever we're doing in South Africa. So ngizocela nje ukuthi ngiyibambe lapho ke grade 12. Le knowledge sesinayo for now asisebenzise so practice laphana ukuthi how do you construct some paragraph questions, how do we tackle those 4-mark question. Ngizoze nginibone nje ngesikhathi esizayo. Nibe right, ngiyabonga.
Ningakhohlwa ukuthi nisengathokozela ezinye izifundo eziyisithupha kanye nezengeziwe i-learner wellness, i-career guidance kanye ne-advanced program. Hlanganyela nathi kwizifundo ezi-online ku-068 151 1072 noma ku-GoDigi@godigitalsa.today. Siyabonga.